Tātou, good morning everyone. Welcome to the 24th of July 2025, second to last infrastructure and transport meeting of the 2022 term. Welcome to members of the public watching online and to Councillors Van Austin and Councillor Hutt for joining us in Zoom land. Right, let's crack on. Apologies first, I've got full absence from Mangai Hill. Our lateness apologies from Councillor Tawariki. And are there any other apologies?
Departure at 12:30, I hope.
Done by then. Thank you. I will move that the apologies be received, seconded by the Deputy Chair, Councillor McIndoe. All those in favour say aye. There are none against. That's carried. Thank you. Confirmation of the agenda. It is as is in your run sheets on your desk. I just wanted to quickly, in the absence of a Chair's report, I just want to quickly add a verbal item. I just want to remind councillors that next Wednesday, the 30th, there's a item on the workshop that's a transport item, and I've asked staff to explain and do a little bit of storytelling around why the costs of some of the projects that we do exist, how they come into being. So I really encourage all members of the committee to be present on that. So I just wanted to just give that a little bit of a heads up there. So with that, the confirmation of the agenda, welcome to Mayor Southgate, also joining us online, and Councillor Huata. Good morning, Morena, welcome. I'll move that the agenda be received, seconded by the Deputy Chair, Councillor McIndoe. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed? That's carried, thank you. Any declarations of interest? Nope. Great. All right, let's move on to the public forum. Our first speaker up is Peter Boss, no stranger to the chamber. Oh, he's not here. Oh. Okay, all right, we'll go to our second speaker, Phil Evans. Good morning, Phil, also no stranger to the chamber. Mr Evans is speaking to item 6, the transport project's macroscope approval. You know the drill.
Good morning, everyone. All right, good morning. I'm speaking today to item 6, the transport project's macroscope approvals. Firstly, I will say that I support any intersection upgrade that makes it safer for everyone to get through, and that includes pedestrians, people on bikes, and vehicles. We all have to share the road, and rebalancing how the road is laid out to support everyone is always a good thing. Governance, can you put the diagrams that I sent separately? There's a different one, a graphic image. It wasn't that one. So I had some diagrams to put up on the screen. But anyway, I'll go ahead. The diagram that is going to come up hopefully shortly is the current layout for traffic light intersections with a green advanced stop box. No, it's the other one, the first one, that one there, that's right. Okay, so on the screen you'll see a basic diagram of a typical painted scenario that includes a green advanced stop box. Ignore the measurements, they are wrong. Advanced stop boxes are used to allow people on bikes to get ahead of traffic to get through intersections safely. The layout on the screen is how they are currently positioned, immediately in front of the vehicle limit line, where drivers are supposed to stop. Unfortunately, many drivers stop over the top of the box, blocking access to cyclists. All too often, impatient drivers will abuse cyclists by accelerating fast when the light changes, coming dangerously close to us. I have reported numerous incidences of this to police over the years, with some getting $150 fines and 2 drivers getting $600 fines because of their prolonged, dangerous, intimidating driving and getting out of their vehicles to confront me. What I would like to propose for all 4 of the intersections being discussed today is a change to the on-road layout. Can you move to the second diagram, please? So this layout puts the advanced stop box ahead of the pedestrian crossing and includes a yellow hatched buffer zone between the pedestrian crossing and the vehicle limit line. This would put a stop to drivers' abuse of the green stop box and position people on bikes well ahead of vehicles while giving us a bigger head start across the intersections and reducing the abuse by drivers. The yellow hatch area is often used to keep exit points clear on roundabouts and is generally respected. Placing the yellow hatched area before the pedestrian crossing would also give pedestrians more safety. Drivers are far more likely to respect the yellow hatch and pedestrian crossing than they currently do for the green advanced stop boxes. The cost of this alteration to the layouts will be almost nothing except for the addition of yellow paint. In most intersections across the city, there is usually enough space to put the ASB ahead of the pedestrian crossing, with more than enough space to keep back far enough from traffic crossing the head of the intersection. For these new upgrades, where curb and channel alterations will occur, it is simply a task to redesign the pedestrian crossing back slightly to accommodate the green box. A few months ago, I discussed this new layout with Martin Parks, and he generally agreed that it did provide people on bikes with much more safety, and he agreed to put this proposal to Whakatahi with a request to trial the new layout at some Hamilton locations. Now is the perfect time to get Whakatahi on board and put the trials in action. I spoke to Martin just prior to this meeting, and I'm aware that these proposals have gone to Whakatahi, but he hasn't heard back yet. Because of these new traffic light intersections, it will probably require signal loops to be embedded in the road. I understand they're not easy to relocate, so now is the right time to position them further back to accommodate the new layout. And just a quick final comment. I've always been opposed to left turn slip lanes that cross bike lanes. Because of the lack of enforcement, drivers constantly block them when heading into the slip lane. This puts people on bikes in considerable danger, and I would like to see them become a thing of the past. All traffic should be controlled by traffic lights. People's safety should always come before the convenience of drivers. My written submission, emailed to everyone this morning, contains more information specific to each intersection being discussed today. Thank you.
Well done, Phil. Thank you very much. Very, very clear. So
Cool.
no time for questions.
No question. Okay.
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you.
Right, Mr. Peter Boss is in the house. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Councillors.
And Councillor Peter is speaking to item 6.
Thank you. I'm speaking in support of item 6, yes. I'm speaking on behalf of Living Streets Kirakura, a branch of Living Streets Aotearoa, which aims to have more people walking more of the time in urban environments and safety. These are comments on the 4 projects. Ulster Street, Mairo Road. On Ulster Street, car drivers are getting almost all the cake with 5 car lanes, while pedestrians are left with the crumbs that are shared with everyone. So there's some photos on just further down. Access Hamilton says a 2-lane road can accommodate 26,000 vehicles per day before 4 lanes becomes affordable and effective. Ulster Street is moving less than 20,000 vehicles per day, similar to what Ruakura Road is designed for. Living Streets requests the removal of the middle lane. This spare space can then be given to foot traffic at the bus stops. So all road users get a fair share of the cake. Motor vehicles will still get twice as many lanes as traffic volumes indicate they need. Te Rapa Garnet Ave intersection. Cycle lanes could go around the back of the bus stop on the northbound bus stop. It's by the motorbike shop. We ask that the footpath by the southbound bus stop be widened and the car lane widths reduced to similar to those at the existing southbound bus stop. Commies Road, Hukanui Road intersection. We ask for the shared path to be 4 metres wide, including the road crossings. We ask that the path on the northwest side of Hukanui Road be widened to provide a separate cycle lane. That's the corner, the Chartwell Square corner. Tristan Street, Clarence Street. This is the gateway to the city centre. We ask that the design let people know they have arrived in the city centre. And the crossing needs to be at least level to remove the risk of flooding. Flooding experience on Lawn Street is not a single event. We want more people walking. Living Streets supports these projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Peter, are there any questions since we have just over 2 minutes? There are none. Very clear as always. Thank you very much. All right, our next speaker up is Brett Goldup, also speaking to item 6. Good morning, Brett. Welcome. There's a timer here of 5 minutes, and that time is yours to use, either presenting or you can allow a couple of minutes within that for questions if you wanted to. So
Well,
over to you.
I wasn't going to actually be here today, but there was another accident yesterday afternoon on the corner of Maroa and Ulster, Maroa Road East and Ulster. Someone trying to go straight through, and so I decided I'd come.
So were you a cyclist?
No, I live in Maroa Road East,
Right.
about halfway down.
Oh, okay.
I've lived there for 23 years,
Yeah.
and it's had a lot of
Accidents.
problems there getting over the years, but
Yeah.
it's getting more frequent.
Okay. All right.
Talking to the people at the vet clinic on the corner, a lot of these accidents are going unreported, as was the one yesterday. Anyhow, we had a meeting in June, Maroa Road East residents, and we pretty much unanimously voted, well, definite higher majority voted for a full closure of Maroa Road East, which was option A, alternative A. But Cardrona residents preferred, and more of them preferred, alternative B, and so that's what we're looking at. That's our next best option as far as most residents are I'm aware of, and Maroa Road East want. I've recently had my car stolen, and I'm therefore using the buses a lot. Now, what's amazed me is the amount of traffic coming out of Maroa Road West. I was at the bus stop last Friday with my wife, and it was early afternoon, and it was just shocking. People trying to turn left, right, go straight through, as well as the rat runners that go straight from Maroa Road East across illegally, as it's currently meant to be a left turn only. No one ever sees that. So my thoughts are that if the option alternative B is taken, we should be looking at some sort of a traffic island or strip in where that parking lane is, or something like that. By using the bus, I find it really, really difficult to cross. So obviously we need lights, which is in all the options. We have a lot of trouble crossing, coming back from getting groceries or whatever now by using buses and that sort of thing. I've never used it as a pedestrian. I've used it as a bike rider, driving vehicles for years and years and years, and pedestrian. But using the buses, it's quite an eye-opening thing. I missed the bus the other day to start with, and I was there for about 20 minutes and just watching this occurring. And the amount of near misses, it was crazy driving. I just couldn't believe it. People wanted to go straight through or even turn right, turn north into, turn south, and towards the city. We're coming out, doing a left turn, then doing a U-E right in front of the bus stop to get in the lanes and that sort of thing. It was just horrendous. So we definitely need something done. A lot of people in Maroa Road East that have been there long term have been wanting this for a long, long time. We would have liked, as I say, option A, alternative A, to actually have it completely closed off, but as I say, we're outweighed by Cardrona residents who don't get the noise, the speeding vehicles, you know, our fear for all animals and children, a lot of small children around. There have just been another 7 units getting built at the moment, and the property directly across the road from me has just been sold, and that has a resource consent for another 4 units on it. So increased traffic, going to be increased amount of residents living in the street, in that part of the street, is going to cause a lot more. With this option, we'd also be, it was named that we'd look at doing something at Victoria Street End to have a left and right turn, as in people can do it at the moment, but unfortunately we need lanes here, and I believe just a narrowing of the traffic island there would actually help a lot to give it more room for the bigger vehicles that were wanting to turn right and preventing those turning left. So that's pretty much highlighting what I wanted to say.
First time presenting to council?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't public speak at
No,
all.
it was very, very
And
clear.
I started writing stuff down and
Yeah.
then I just left it. So I
No,
probably missed
that's
a lot of what I
often the
wanted to
way,
say.
but your submission was extremely clear, and we very much appreciate you coming and talking to us in the chamber. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker, presenter in the public forum is Stephanie Chemishov. Did I say that right?
Chernyshev.
Thank you. Good morning, Stephanie. Our committee member, Stephanie, is also speaking to item 6.
Kia ora koutou.
ora.
Just following that previous speaker, I just wanted to outline a few things. Talking about the Comries Road intersection, which was just spoken about briefly. This is a video. I'll just show the video first then from last night. You can see, can you play it again? It's very quick. You come along, you think, oh, wait a minute, that van's just come out. I didn't see it, it didn't see me, and now I'm in front of it. It's happened so fast. So you can't cycle along there. You look at the report that you guys had with the photo with the numbers of people. There's a lot of people going on bikes, and we're all saving you guys a space in the traffic queue. So it does pay to make some improvements that help cyclists as well as drivers. But I noticed on one of them that there was something like 15 people using the footpath on this side, but only 5 on that side. And I wonder if that's because they're like me and they're just too scared to use the road there. They have to use the footpath, which is still unsafe because there's not really space to wiggle between to get yourself across. Some of you would have received an email from me this morning, so I'm going to try not to repeat myself if you've read that. But a lot of school children use that. I'm really actually excited to be here. I'm really excited to be here. I heard 7 years ago when I had one child who was going to cycle down that road, you were going to do something about it and improve it. It's been 7 years waiting to see what you can do. So I am actually really excited. The other thing I'm excited about is that this idea of putting a shared path around is quite different. There's the idea of having a cycle path on the road, which is still not that safe. But when you compare Hukanui Road, so I've got one set of boys that I make go on Wairere Drive instead of Hukanui Road, because Wairere Drive's got a shared path and it's safe. If we can have just that shared path for that bit, get those cyclists off the road, because to be honest, Fairfield Intermediate children, they all use the footpath anyway, but to just make it that bit wider and make it safe for pedestrians and cyclists would be awesome. So that idea, just for future reference as well, is a good one for when you're improving intersections. What else was there? Just the speed. So I also noted in the report that Hukanui Road has higher than average speeds, even though you're meant to go 50, and then I think you might be meant to go slower at school times, which means a shared platform would make a difference. And I was thinking about how people, and when you're in a car and you're trying to turn right out of Hukanui Road, and you tend to see a gap and then go as fast as you can, and a shared platform would reduce that activity, because you've got the lights and then you can't just go too fast because there's the raised platform slowing you down. So sometimes I find on a bike, it's hard to explain visually, but I'm cycling along, someone's turning right and I just see them and I can see they're not looking at me, they're just looking at the gap, and if they just go out really fast, I could be in the line of fire. So I know it's a lot of money, and I've got my reservations about raised platforms and our suspension on our cars, but I think sometimes if you're going to do it all now, do it the best now. And hopefully my third child will be able to bike through there, and I'll be feeling a lot happy about her safety on her way to school. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Just a really quick question from me. When you're talking about not a raised safety platform as is the donkey donk ones, the ones
yeah.
So it's a table. You come up, travel through
Like
the
Anglesey
intersection.
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't, because I think sometimes actually those up and down ones actually have a psychological effect that I must speed up because I've been slowed down afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like I've seen that on a few places around town. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Very clear. Thank you. All right. So that is the end of our public forum. Very, very helpful this morning. Yes, no? Now, sorry, it's my bad. I was very efficient with opening the meeting, so efficient that I actually didn't do our council karakia. So I'm going to, it's okay to do it now or no? No? Sorry, Councillor Hawata, I am looking at you for some guidance.
It's okay,
It's okay.
Deputy Mayor Angela. Every morning when I get up, I do a karakia for all of us. So
Wonderful.
we're covered for now.
Wonderful. You're the best. Thank you. All right. We will carry on to the next item, which is item 5, page 6. This is the confirmation of the Infrastructure and Transport Committee open minutes of 13th of May. I can confirm that they are a true and accurate record, unless somebody tells me that they are not. Seconded by Councillor Pike. Thank you very much. All those in favour say aye. There and unopposed, that's carried. Thank you. All right, now let's move on to the substantive and item for today, which is the transport projects, item 6. We've heard some people in the public forum this morning. Now, I just wanted to just also add, we have an attachment on page 104 from Lee and Monique, who are residents in Mairo Road as well, and they are fully supportive of option 2 and suggest a trial of closing, so Mairo Road. So please, as we're thinking about that item, please read that submission and make sure you're familiar with that. All right, so I'm going to go to Robin Denton first to present the item, and then we will move to questions. It would be really good if we can get to a point where we can move these all together, and possibly questions of exception. There's 4 projects there only, rather than trawling through each one, but I'm guided by the committee. So over to you, Robin. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors and Mayor. So today we're looking at seeking macroscope approval for 4 more projects. So these projects were ones that were approved in March this year, and we've been working through the transport decision-making framework. So that has meant that we've done some early work, we've done some project reports, we've had an elected member briefing, and from that we've also done a little bit of targeted consultation with residents most directly affected, and we're now seeking your approval for those. We are very clear that the transport decision-making framework does then require us to go out and do some more consultation, and that wider consultation, and just to provide assurance to elected members, if there is anything in that consultation process that raises alarm bells, then we will be coming back to you and seeking your advice on that. If it's steady as she goes, then we will just give you some updates via exec update and that sort of thing. So the 4 projects that we're seeking macroscope approval for today are Ulster Maira intersection, and that's proposing to put some traffic signals in there, and as you've heard from some of our community who've been speaking this morning, to limit the access from Maira East. So that's the section coming up from Victoria Street, Fairfield Bridge area. Te Rapa Garnet, we have some improvements there for pedestrians and primarily about getting good access to the bus stops, particularly the northbound bus stop, which is outside Road and Sport. Comrades Hokanui intersection, so out near Chartwell Square, again traffic signals at that intersection, also providing for pedestrians and cyclists. And finally in Tristram Street, just north of Clarence Street, near the Pack and Save, and that's to get across Victoria, across Tristram Street. So they're the key projects that we're seeking macroscope approval for today. We're also providing an update on where we're at with our ongoing discussions with NZTA with regard to co-investment. Back when they first announced the funding for the low-cost, low-risk program, their low-cost, low-risk program, they had approved specifically 2 projects, being the Wairere River intersection and Avalon Forest Lake. So we've had various briefings and reports to this committee about those 2 sites, and we haven't found a solution to proceed on, and the advice, the request from elected members was that we go back and talk to NZTA and see if there were other sites that they would be prepared to fund instead. So we have had approval for funding from NZTA to be used for the Ulster-Mairoa intersection. And they have tentatively also indicated that the Ulster-Abbotsford intersection may be a candidate as well, but that's one that we will be bringing to you for approval on the 2nd of September, following the indication that you had at the elected member briefing that you wanted some more work. So the elected member briefing asked for more work for Ulster Abbotsford and also Ruakiwi. That will be coming back to elected member briefing on the 6th of August, and then we will be seeking macroscope approval on the 2nd of September, so the last INT committee. After that, I'm happy to take it as read and answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robin. And just for committee's awareness, I did ask Robin this morning in terms of if the projects are signed off today, it's in an exec summary. If there was anything that was significant that came from the consultation, staff would raise that with us, but I also asked the question, is that with a lens of political significance, because that's a little different, and she assured me that yes, it would be, so that gave me some comfort. Councillor Bidder.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Robin, from what Phil Evans said this morning, is it possible to move the green advanced stop boxes to the be further ahead of the pedestrian crossing? So I'm looking at the Ulster Street intersection as an example, and without doing any other changes, simply putting the green stop boxes on the other side of the pedestrian crossing would give cyclists the chance to get ahead of traffic when the lights change. Is that reasonable?
So I guess there are a couple of things, and so Martin has followed up with NZTA, so we'd have to work that through as a formal trial with them, because that would be going against current guidance. One of the things that we'd have to work through, though, is understanding what the implications of that are, because, for example, where your traffic signals are currently based, it has the pedestrian call button on it. Now, those the traffic signals need to be in that location to be right for the vehicles and how the intersection works. So there's potential, and I don't know without, with 5 minutes warning, you may actually have to put in another pole to have the pedestrian call button in the right place for pedestrians. You'd also have to look at the efficiency of the intersection, because the further back that you put vehicles from, that intersection itself, that means everything takes longer to get through.
Yeah.
So that means all of your phasing and that sort of thing changes, and you don't get those efficiencies. So literally with 5 minutes warning, they would be the sorts of things that we'd have to work through before I could say, yes, it's something we should do.
Yeah. Just for clarity, I was looking at it thinking of just actually leaving the pedestrian crossings exactly as they are, but just allowing cyclists to park ahead of that, and just to give that head start.
That potentially means that they're sitting in the intersection and are going to get hit by the traffic coming through.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd have to work through. I think what I can say is we will follow up with NZTA. We will look at it and see if that's something that we can do as a formalised trial. And we'll see how we get on with that process.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McIndoe?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and actually Councillor Bidder has covered the first one that I was going to ask, which was for a little bit more comment on Phil's suggestion about advanced boxes, and you're obviously going to come back to us with a little bit more from what you just said.
We will have that discussion with NZTA. NZTA have some very strict processes to go through for trials.
Yeah.
So I can't, and I don't know what that timeline's going to be.
Yeah, no, I'm not asking you to
Yeah.
commit at the moment, just that there'll be further
We'll have further
information back to
discussions
us.
and we'll
Okay.
make sure we give you updates.
Thank you, because there's been quite a lot. Thank you to those who have been here this morning to make submissions, because there's been a lot of very thoughtful contributions, and it can be quite a bit to get your head around at times, so thank you, I appreciate that. So the other one I was just going to ask, and the Deputy Mayor's already referred to the submission that we had from Lee Samphia and Monique Patchell, in which they are suggesting the implementation of a temporary closure as a trial to Mairua Road East, and I imagine, Brett, you'd be keen to see that. Is that feasible? Because I quite like the idea of doing something as a trial before we commit something that may have a bit of a backlash. Let's see how it goes. Can that be done?
We can do trials. It's just about sort of understanding the metrics on what you're trialling and then managing the costs of doing those trials, because we did some years ago try to do a trial for reducing the number of southbound vehicles coming into Ulster Street across Mill Street. So we put water barriers out there, water-filled barriers. People took great delight in letting the water out and then rearranging the barriers most nights. So they're the sorts of challenges, I guess, that we have where doing something temporary can actually be quite expensive. And then we'd need to be very clear about what we're trialling and what do you consider a success, because I would believe that if we did that trial, then the residents in Mairua Road East, Cadrona, might say, yes, that's great, but people who are coming from Mairua West would go, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So how do you, so you need to be very clear about what you consider to be successful.
You're absolutely
or not.
right, and that's one of the reasons why I'm suggesting if we could do it as a bit of a trial, some of the concerns of some residents might be overcome, or else that, their concerns might be realised. So, look, I appreciate what you're saying. I did get the feeling at the elected member briefing that there was a lot of enthusiasm. We've got to do something there. It's very dangerous, and obviously we all want to get it right.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll go online. Councillor Hutt.
Morena, can you all hear me okay? I'm seeing a nod from my fellow Zoomlanders, so I'm going to assume that's fine. Kia ora, Robin. I was just wondering, on page 26, there is a diagram for option 2 of Te Rapa Garnet, and I'm sure that this was a cost-saving efficiency measure where option 2 is presented as option 1, but with like big red crosses through the raised safety platforms to show the difference.
Correct.
And I love efficiency. I love cost savings, but I was just a little bit nervous about if a member of the public asked me to, see a copy of what was approved, that for a member of the public that might be quite confusing. So I was just wondering do we have a slightly clearer version of that to share with the public? And going forward, is it possible to have that kind of followed through?
So I apologise, that is a Robin artwork, yet another one that I'm going to sell for a great amount of money in years to come. Yes, it was a quick one, and just, I guess, trying to be clear on the picture, and that's why I added the note. Certainly, once we have direction from today, then, you know, any consultation documents and that sort of thing will be far clearer than what I have provided to you. So apologies. I'll have a little bit more of a go with my clip art next time.
That's okay. I did wonder if this was a MS Paint scenario, but that's all good.
PowerPoint, I'm afraid.
Thank you. I don't know that you'll raise as much money as Andrew Parsons did with his drawing many years ago. But you can try. Councillor Casey Cox.
Thank you, Robin. Just a question around Brett's submission. In terms of preventing the U-turns, is there anything that could be done to in the design that would address that, or is it a step later?
I think your U-turns are because people at the moment, for example, are trying to come out of Mairoa Road West to head into town, and they look at that and go, I have to get over 2 lanes of traffic and find a gap for the third. So they turn left to get into that flow and then do, in effect, a hook turn to go back again. Once we've got traffic signals there, they will have a dedicated right to turn, and they won't need to do that.
Oh, okay.
So they'll be able to do it safely. They won't be able to do, in effect, a 2-step right turn, which the U-turn is currently.
Okay, thank you. And just in terms of the consultation process, it's similar to every other consultation we've had in similar projects. It'll be quite broad and we'll have events and.
Yes, so at this stage we've tried to be very targeted with that. So the transport decision making framework was worked up with elected members on the basis that we wouldn't go out and do widespread consultation until we had a macroscope sign off. We felt for this, for Mairoa, Ulster and also for Te Rapa Garnet, that it was significant enough change that we should talk to those people who are most affected prior to coming to this sort of forum. So we've done a little bit of that really targeted stuff. But once we've got approval today, hopefully, then yes, there will be a full engagement. And already, and we've got Sarah Loynes here, she's been doing a fantastic job going out, door knocking, engaging with the community, engaging with businesses, organising community meetings, that sort of thing.
Awesome.
Similar to what we've done for Morrinsville Road, you know, putting a VMS sign out so that people know that it's happening and can call into those public sessions as well. So that would be the expectation for these as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Thanks, Robin. And thanks, Sarah, also for the work in doing consultation. I'm interested in the table where it's got alternative A and alternative B for Mairoa Ulster Street. And one of the drawbacks for alternative B is the potential increase of U-turns on Ulster Street by vehicles turning left out of Mairoa Road. So how will there be physical barriers stopping people from doing that, at least immediately at the intersection? I imagine you can't stop them further down the road, but...
So I guess one of the reasons why we liked alternate B is that for the residents in that area, if they want to come into the city, then they can come out and turn left easily. If they're wanting to head north, they can go down to Victoria Street and turn left easily. So I think that it's a very minimal risk. It would be something that we just need to keep an eye on. The traffic signals would mean that if people wanted to do it, they'd probably go down the road a little bit and then the traffic signals would provide a gap. But I think it's a very minimal risk because of the fact that actually if you wanted to head north, you just go down to Victoria Street and pull left out through there.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think that was my main concern with that one. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Pike.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Robin. Just a question on Te Rapa Road and Garnet intersection. In the briefing, I'd raised about the raised crossing and the slip lane, which was quite close to the entrance there. and it still looks quite close to the main road. I was just wondering if we could move it out a bit just to allow space for a full car length to wait, so they can safely slow as they exit the main road.
Yes, so again, we didn't have time or the money necessarily to redraw that, but that is noted in the text, and I've also included that in my masterful piece on page 26, where that platform layout needs to be amended. So we've certainly taken that on board and noted that we will ensure that there's room for a car length ahead of that crossing. Yep.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Van Osten.
Thank you, and thanks, Robin. In your preamble to the piece, you talked about Waka Kotahi now taking up some of the co-funding for Ulster and Mairoa. Is that at the usual 51%, or is it more than that in the low cost, low risk budgets?
So that's at the usual 51%, and that's the swap out, I guess, of the Wairori River and Avalon Forest Lake intersections. So, yeah, that's their standard 51% for the low cost, low risk program.
Okay, I think I must have been getting it confused with the surf allowances.
Yeah.
So is that a comparable value for that swap out, do you suppose, or is there a difference and this is less for them?
So this will be less at this stage. It really depends on whether we can land through the next elected member briefing and the next INT committee, if we can land at Ulster Abbotsford a design there that they're happy to subsidise as well, then that is going to get us closer to utilising the full allocation.
And in terms of, I'm getting a bit of feedback, sorry. In terms of the full allocation that you talk about, are there any kind of overs or unders more that other territorial authorities aren't proceeding with projects where we could perhaps be a bit cheeky and ask for more projects to be supported?
I'm always cheeky and asking for more money from NZTA. What I would note, though, is Hamilton City was actually one of the very few councils in New Zealand that got low-cost, low-risk funding in this LTP period. So there's not likely to be an underspend in that low-cost, low-risk area, I believe. But I definitely continue to have discussions and to look for opportunities for more funding.
Oh, well, high five to you, Rob. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Robin, sorry, going back to the U-turn question, have you looked at also how many people are currently using Mairoa Road East as a cut through from Victoria Street, and who might continue to do that by cutting through, turning left, then, doing a U-turn and carrying along?
Yeah, I think it's about understanding where people are coming from and going to. At the moment, I think there are some very brave folks who have a crack at getting across there, and probably depending on the traffic and time of day. So they've got two choices, basically. They can go up to the Forest Lake intersection and use that, or you can actually use the Whitiora Bridge, so going down through to Mill Street. So there are two really good, safe alternates in place, and I think that's probably where most people are going, but we do get those who see it as an opportunity to perhaps go a little bit quicker.
Okay. But we don't kind of have a...
I don't have it to hand.
Yeah. So it would be something, if we monitored it and we still found that this wasn't, we found that this was an ongoing issue with people cutting and then still making dangerous moves coming out onto Ulster Street. I mean, you know, what's the cost of then retrofitting to do the full closure compared to?
I don't think it necessarily push you to full closure. You could just look at having a solid median through the middle. That wouldn't need to be,
Right.
you know, it wouldn't need to be too wide. You just need to check in with the adjacent residents, because it would impact their ability to get in and out of properties. But so, you know, that is an option, that you could retrofit something through the middle.
Is it worth looking at, you know, the one of that final submission there attached, you know, talked about, well, if we were going to go for that option of the partial closure, at least have median barriers or something to. Is that something worth looking at and consulting on?
Yes,
to see
we can include
whether
if
it's.
if
I mean,
that-
I don't want to be a traffic engineer right here at the table, but at least to look at and consult with affected parties to see whether it's something worth doing at the same time. Given
Yes,
it's
we can
one
certainly
set of
add that
traffic
into
management.
to the mix. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
A temporary trial of closure?
No.
No, just
The barriers for U-turn.
Yeah.
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 Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's certainly
Thank you.
something we can add
Yep.
into the mix for
Thank you.
consultation.
Councillor Taylor, you're up next.
Thank you, Chair. Robin, look, I'm good with everything in the report. I'm just struggling with the Mairoa Road, Ulster Street, and the fact between A and B, there's support for both. I just want to explore the idea of trialling a full closure a little bit more that Councillor McIndoe raised. I mean, surely we have more, do we not have more workable ways of trialling such things? I mean, surely it's not a bad idea to trial things before you actually invest a lot of money sometimes. I'm surprised that we don't have a more workable way of trialling something for 6 months. You know, is there, surely we've done trials before which have worked and where people haven't vandalised or...
So your next option is to put a solid concrete barrier in there.
Okay.
It comes down to cost at the end of the day, and how much you want to spend on doing a trial.
Well,
And so, you know, that I'm happy to take direction on that. What it does mean, though, is if we do a 6-month trial, understanding, I guess, the next steps from there. Do we carry on with the design in the meantime? Do we do no design and then wait?
yeah.
It's the sort of project that we probably could deliver, you know, in a June, July, because we're not opening up a whole lot of road pavement, so it wouldn't, it's less weather dependent, I guess, than other projects, but they're all the sorts of things I'd have to have a think about and work through.
And I guess also what is a success and what isn't, like how do you define that after 6 months?
That's what I would be looking for elected members to give me a clear indication of what do you think success looks like, so that we can be really clear in the metrics that we're, you know, measuring, the sort of feedback that we're seeking, who we're getting that feedback from, and how that's all managed.
Okay, so thank you for that. And Chair, so if we progress with the macroscope for alternative B at the moment, you're doing further consultation with the residents, but
Wider consultation.
And wider.
Yes,
But
so we've only been very targeted at the moment.
okay. But at that point, we are basically saying this is what we're going to do. So even though we're consulting, that's
No, as I said in my intro, if we get a big pushback to say no, then that's going to be the sort of thing that we're going to have to bring back to you.
okay. Thank you, Robin. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Look, I've got just a couple of questions. There's no one else. I'm with Councillor Taylor on this one. I was a bit, you know, which way do we go here because of the feedback? In that consultation, can we, if we go out and say, look, alternative A, alternative B, whichever one it is, but also would there be an appetite to, I don't know if we are, to do a trial, because I'm quite in favour of that. Can we seek that out from the community as well? We've heard from some Mairoa residents this morning and in the written that they're quite keen on that. I guess what you're asking us though is what outcome are we seeking and how we, and then, so you would be able to measure that, right?
Correct, yes. And I guess, you know, we've got this challenge of elections coming up soon. So to do a trial and then for it to be clear for staff, I guess, as to if we get these outcomes and we've pre-agreed that means success and we're happy that that elected members are happy that we then carry on and get into the detailed design, or, you know, just understanding the process, because we do have this quiet period for a while where we won't actually have the opportunity to get decisions from elected members till potentially February, March next year. So, and then it's how much work do we do? Do we do the detailed design, or do you want us just to come up with a design that enables us to easily retrofit closing the left slip, for example?
Okay.
You know, and that's perhaps an option, is that we approve the left slip out, but make sure that we've got a design such that if the monitoring means there's a problem, we can go back and easily
Understand
close it.
that. Okay, so if the committee today goes with with alternative B, and the feedback is such that it's not overwhelmingly supportive, could we add something that you would come back again, talk to us about a trial? Does that work?
Yeah.
Or is that Tanya?
Yes. So I think if, in principle, if the committee agrees that that's something, and option B is or alternative B is something that we can go out to the community to consult with, and that inclusive of that consultation or engagement with those residents and the wider community, we can look at alternatives such as closing the road. I think that's an opportunity for us to get a feel for what's required, and that, as Robin said, through that decision-making framework, it is that point where we would need to bring that back to a committee or to a briefing, noting that that will probably delay this project. Because
it will.
There's always going to be a council meeting, a couple of council meetings.
Yes.
Past the
So we would just
year
need to factor the timings in and making sure that when we are engaging, we're doing that with enough time for residents and the community to provide us with response.
The big thing here is that trial. Either way, all we're looking at is a degree of accessibility out of that area for the Mairoa East and Cardrona residents. Any of those options are basically closed for Mairoa West. So the Mairoa West and those people who are running Rat Run, it doesn't matter whether it's A or B, they're not going to like it. So it comes down to, are elected members worried about A or B for the Mairoa East and Cardrona residents? We've already done a lot of work. Sarah's door knocked everyone. We've had the community meetings and we've presented that information. But I don't know that we're going to get a lot more out of doing a trial there than what we've already got with that actual door knocking and those community meetings.
Thanks, Robin. Can I just, I'm just eyelining the beautiful Sarah there. Can I just, can you just give us a little bit of clarity perhaps on your conversations in a short, succinct way?
Okay. So I think the support for a trial there would be divisive amongst that community in the same way that A and B are divisive within that community. I think the risk of trialling a closure there early without the signalisation is that the Mairoa West people get a lot of disbenefit without the signalisation. They don't get any benefit from that trial at all. So then that might cause more division around the eventual signalisation of that intersection for the wider community. So I think we've done everything we can to tease out from that community where they sit, but ultimately both the full signalisation of that intersection and the full closure of it were divisive. you've got either strongly opposed or strongly supportive of those. The only one where we got a spread of opinion, where we got, I'm kind of opposed or I'm kind of supportive, was the one where we left the left turn out for people to still at least be able to get to the city relatively easily via Ulster Street. Now, there are conditions around that for some, and Lee's submission talks about his belief that that won't prevent the rat run and that the U-turns will still occur near the intersection.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we can handle through the design process.
Okay.
But you're not going to get any more out of trialling it.
Yeah.
The only thing that they did say as residents was they would like to see whatever it is implemented faster because of the risk that they see on that intersection. So, that, like the partial closure, even they would like that faster than if the signalisation's going to be delayed.
Wonderful, thank you. That you did provide the clarity directly from the mouths of the residents that we were, well, certainly that I was looking for. So thank you. I just have a couple of other questions before I go to Councillor Thompson for her third go, which will be one question. Robin, just thank you for including just on Tristram. That is a FEN strategic route. Can you assure us that and there's no road safety platform there, so the only impedance under lights for a fire truck would be signals, but I understand the technology for a greenway for them will be or is already underway, so there'd be no slowing down in that area, is that correct?
That is correct.
Great. Yep, thank you very much. My second question on Tristram was, I raised it several times on behalf of the Clarence Street Theatre, disclosure of which I'm a patron, but that we would also look at within this project a drop-off marking right outside the theatre, a drop-off zone.
So we're working with that separately.
That's separately,
yeah,
but it's still going ahead?
Yes, we've been carried on working with them on that one. So,
Awesome.
yes.
Thank you. And my last question perhaps will be for, or not, possibly a note. Can we have a staff action then to consider the more advanced stop boxes for future projects and what that might look like, or, which I love, those cycle lights that are at Ward Street and Tristram. Can we look at bringing that back to a briefing and what that might look like, what costs might be involved, so that we...
Yes, if we can have that as a staff action to
Yeah,
bring that back
if we can note that down,
because
that'd
we
be
can
really
look at
great.
the appropriateness of intersections and which ones would work.
Yeah. So we're not having to retrofit things. Thank you very much. Last question.
Sorry.
Councillor Thompson.
Okay, very last. Robin, one concern raised by someone who hasn't been part of the consultation, and I assume is on the west side of Mairoa Road, has been how they get to like the Fairfield Bridge, where you can't go down to Victoria Street, Forest Lake intersection because it doesn't allow the right turn there, is what they said. So have we just looked at how those people would route to the bridge and ensured that they do have a safe, relatively easy to use route? I assume it's going down Edgecombe Street, but just,
Yeah, so I guess Mairoa links to Forest Lake and lots of different locations, so depending on exactly where they've come from, or it may be that actually Whitiora is an appropriate alternate for them as well.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool, thank you.
Right, great, thank you. So that's all of our questions done on this. So we'll move to page 12, which is the staff recommendation. I've had no indication that there are any amendments. It seems like we've teased everything out through questions, that we're relatively happy with these proposals. And just a reminder again that these will be updated after consultation and engagement with the community through the CE's exec updates. So I encourage everybody to read those, and any red flags that come out will be flagged in that process. So with that, I will move the recommendation on page 12, seconded by Don't All Fight For It. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. All right, look, just quickly, I think again, and I'm going to keep reminding us that this is the new decision-making framework that we put in working, and it's working well. It means that we have oversight over projects that affect our community without us getting into the detail and the operational aspect of it. We also have the backstop of this being reported after further consultation with the community in the CE's exec summary, where we could put the brakes on if we absolutely had to, but we need to trust staff that they will also see any red flags that pop up. I really very much want to appreciate those that came and submitted this morning. You are contributing to the city, to your environments and your neighbourhoods, and it's really great to see those in the community from all walks of life advocating for safety, whether that's safety of car movement, safety of pedestrians or safety of cyclists. So we really appreciate you getting involved in the civic affairs of the city. Councillor Thompson as a seconder.
Firstly, want to acknowledge those who did submit this morning and who have been part of the wider consultation process, particularly for Mairoa Ulster. It is really important that we hear from people on these projects, and I do want to acknowledge the process that we have now as well. Particularly Mairoa Ulster, I'm really excited about it because it is a gnarly intersection, but also this is where we're going to be having more frequent bus services, and getting from one side to the other is critical for being able to take a bus and get home again. So I'm really looking forward to this project. Same with the one on right by Chartwell Mall on Comrie is absolutely terrible intersection to try and turn right out of. So these are, I think all of these improvements are really going to make a real difference in improving people's day-to-day lives. So I want to thank staff for all of your work on these and look forward to seeing how the consultation goes. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I support this. I think we've been well briefed on these. And they're genuine safety issues, all of them. I'm particularly pleased about the Comries Road, Hukanui one, which is stuck out for a long time for me as a real safety issue. So, yeah, obviously a few concerns over the Ulster Street, Mairoa Road, how that's going to pan out. But overall, happy to support.
Councillor Bidder.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I am interested in the advanced stop boxes. We've had several accidents in the last 3 years of trucks making left-hand turns, and cyclists are in the truck's blind spot. I also want to draw attention to a recent court case in Tauranga with a finding on the 1st of July this year, where a judge blamed the road for a truck that was making a left-hand turn, a cyclist heading straight ahead on a green painted cycle lane going ahead. Cyclist was killed, a guy named Brian Maris. The truck technically did have the right of way because he was a left-turning vehicle and you can't pass on the left. The cyclist was under the impression from the green paint that going straight ahead was perfectly safe. There's a clash there. We need a solution because if we want to get cyclists to the advanced stop boxes, but if the light changes suddenly while they're in that path, there's a danger created. So I'd like to see some further awareness and investigation of solutions around that.
Thank you. Councillor Huata.
Mori nei te whare o tērā koutou katoa ko haramai ki te tautoko I te kaupapa nei, I runga I te ngākau nui. Good morning everyone, and to everyone that is here and has a passion about safety for our citizens of Kirikiroa, H-Town, Hamilton City. I was inspired by Councillor Anna Casey Cox, who jumped on her bike and actually physically biked the different areas that we talked about. And disclaimer, I'm not a biker. Back in the day I was, but not these days with all the children I have. However, I needed to get from A to B, and so I took the bus. And as I was heading to take the bus, I came across a man in his wheelchair. Shane was his name. And he was having difficulty getting across the road in time to make it to the other side. And so I support stop boxes and what it may do to help our disabled community get across the road on time. Now, as Shane was crossing the road in his wheelchair and the lights were flashing red for him to get over the other side, a taxi inched real close to him and almost bumped him. And so I helped him get across. And so I asked him, Shane, what are some of the difficulties you face just getting across the road? And he goes, did you see that taxi? And I said, yes, I did. What do you think we could do? Well, firstly, is we can make the crossing time a bit longer. And I know just as a pedestrian, I'm mincing it across the road to get over in time. So I can only imagine what it's like for someone in their wheelchair. I said, so how is it like the getting off the curb and onto the road? He goes, they're really good in the city. So thank you to our traffic staff that have made improvements there. I said, what about on the outskirts of the city? And so he mentioned Ulster Street and Mydor Road. And I was like, oh, how timely. So the city is doing well. If we can look on those outskirts and how we think about our people in wheelchairs, and it was hard. And another thing that I never thought about before was, sorry, race
ding, ding.
It's tough for them to get over.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pike.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, thank you to staff for their report and for their work in bringing these projects to us. And thank you kindly to all the public submitters and those who provided feedback in the targeted consultations. As you can hear from the questioning today, it really does help shape our decisions and outcomes. These have come to us through the new process of the Transport Making Decision Framework, and further with the reduction of the NZTA funding, we've had to prioritise our low-cost, low-risk transport projects. So these 4 projects have been identified as priorities by staff, elected members in briefings, and also in response to key community needs. We've heard today from public submitters, as well as through the consultation, that there are safety concerns with high pedestrian counts in these areas and lots of near misses. Like some of my colleagues, I'm still a bit uncertain on Ulster and Mairoa, as many others are. However, I feel a bit more comfortable having heard from staff. Alternative B seems to be a compromise that both Mairoa and Candrona are at least open to, if that left lane can be dealt to through design, and also that a wider consultation will take place. But overall, I think there is need for improvements in all these spaces, and I look forward to delivering these for our community. So I'll be supporting the motion today, but we'll be keeping an eye out for any strong feedback from our residents, and I urge them all to engage and submit so we can hear their feedback on it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I don't need a right of reply, so let's do that on the show of hands. All those in favour, please raise your hands. There are none opposed. That's carried. Thank you. Sorry, James, we didn't get to hear your fabulous voice. He just looked really sulky at me like, next time. All right, let's move on. General Manager's report, business as usual. It's just to accept this. I didn't receive any emails that I have not looked at anyway overnight, but I'm assuming I didn't, so we'll just, that's just for information only, so that it's a public record of updates. I'll move and somebody will second. Thank you, Deputy Chair Councillor Tim McIndoe. All those in favour say aye. There are none opposed. It's carried. I'll move that we go into public excluded, seconded by Councillor Casey Cox. Too slow, Councillor Wilson. All those in favour say aye. There are none opposed. That's carried. Thank you. I should be an auctioneer. Let's take a quick 10-minute break while we go off PX. I'd be a terrible